The real question is, am I building something that matters to somebody else? I don't like to think too much. And so what I do is I let other AI tools do the work for me. I don't want to copy somebody else's app. I want to look at the features that are doing well and build an app around it. And after probably less than 3 minutes, it has created the app for us. It's enough for me to look at it, to show to other people, and to have them react to it and say, is this something you might like, you might want to use? And that is the key of what we're trying to get to, that minimum viable product, that minimum viable experience. Do you want to build an app out in minutes without coding? Actually, more importantly, would you like to build an app out in minutes without coding and build something that somebody else might actually want to use? Today, we're going to go step by step through the process, not just vibe coding and using low code, no code AI tools, but go through the process of research, planning out features, and validating our ideas before we even get to the building part to build something that might be useful to somebody else. If you're interested in using AI to use low code, no code tools to build apps that other people would like to use and then market those apps and sell them later, I recommend heading on over to launchwithvibe.com. You can grab our free ebook there, no charge. That's the free part. And you can learn more about the process of using AI to build apps and then to deploy them and market them so that other people can find them and use them. If you want to go even a step further, right there at launchwithvibe.com, I think it's $7.99, something like that. You can get our 482-page book off of Amazon that goes in deep, deep details in every step of the process. But make sure you get the free ebook first so you can find out more. All right, so let's start with step one, and that is researching our app ideas. Why is this important? You've probably watched some other videos about vibe coding and using the different tools that are out there, Replit, Lovable, Bolt, they go on and on about the actual building of the app process. And it's cool. And I get it. It's fun to put a prompt in and get a SaaS website out the back end. But the real question is, am I building something that matters to somebody else? And so the research process allows us to go down that road and figure out the very beginning of that, which is researching our app ideas. Everybody's coming to this from a different place, so I want to make sure we cover all of the pieces. You may already have a great app idea and you want to validate it and build out the features, but you might not have an idea at all. So we're going to start from there to figure out, how do we find app ideas that matter to other people? To do our research, we're going to use Grok. If you haven't used Grok before, you just head over to grok.com. If you have a paid Twitter account, you can get some additional features with Grok. If not, you can use the free version. It works just great too. So just grok.com and you head on over here. And we are going to start the process by using the deep search functionality, because first thing we're going to do is find out what features are trending in a certain type of app that we want to build today. Now, for our example today, we're going to use a fitness app. I have not done the research before. I haven't looked at any of this. I have no idea what we're going to build, but we're going to do it together. And we're going to build out the research, the planning, and then the features and the app on the back end based on all of the research and planning that AI does for us. And just like any type of writing, the hardest part is the blank screen. And it may be difficult, especially the first time coming in, to decide, what do I want to ask Grok to do? And we can certainly say to Grok something like, research fitness apps. And I don't think we'll get a lot of good information. So here's the trick that I use. I don't like to think too much. And so what I do is I let other AI tools do the work for me. Could I ask exactly what I'm going to ask here in a second with Grok? I could. I like the idea of playing back and forth off of different AI tools because I think that it allows us to keep things separate and get different information. I also think certain tools work better than others. So we're going to come on over here into Gemini, and I've already put the prompt in, so we don't have to. I just made a simple prompt, which is write a prompt that I can use with Grok search, deep search. Important to tell it that's the feature you want to use to find trending and popular app features in the fitness space. Notice I didn't say popular apps, I said features, because we're going to start off with a minimum viable product, and from there build out into other features in the future if we were to use this as a real app. But we want to get something in a tight lane first to figure out what we want to build. And so I just told us to look at features, not actually apps. I don't want to copy somebody else's app. I want to look at the features that are doing well and build an app around it. And on the back end of it, it actually created 2 prompts. I don't know why, but the second one works just fine for us. We'll break it down real quick. So it said that the prompt, this is not the back end results, but this is the prompt we're going to feed into Grok, is to analyze the current fitness app market as of now, which is great, and look at AI-driven personalization, wearable integration, gamification, mental wellness, virtual training, emerging technologies, all those kinds of things, and then provide examples of apps. The other prompt that it gave us is to analyze the current market, and then just to look through each of the pieces. The difference between the two is the second one put some of the focus specifically on certain types of features. So you could use that, or you could let Grok run wide open, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to copy that prompt, head back over to Grok and paste it in here and let Grok do that research. And after, I guess it was 42 seconds, Grok ran through, it did a few different things. So let's break down what exactly it created for us in the report that came out the back end, what we can do with that. It gave us a couple key points at the top as far as some of the things that are trending right now, such as AI-driven personalization, wearable integration, things like gamification, social challenges, and mental wellness integrations. So those are the top things. And then it broke it down for us here also. We've got the AI-driven personalization. Wearables, for me, that scares me a little because we're talking about having to connect hardware to our software. I might avoid that right now. Personalization, though, definitely works within software. Community and social features, quite possibly. Those might be a secondary for an app that you have that's existing in a bolt-on. Mental wellness, I think that could be its own app, and so can gamification and unique tracking. So if we look a little bit more in detail on the report, it goes through some of the trends, and then it breaks down each of those for us. So we talk about what each of them are, examples, as you can see, for apps that are using each of those features well already. So that gives you an idea, especially if you use any of those apps and you're interested in this space, you can get an idea of what we're looking at here, including the community challenges and the workout tracking, mental wellness. After that, what we need to do is pick one. And as I mentioned, I start with trying to remove the ones that I don't want to do. So the wearable integration, just for me for right now, isn't something I want to do. Maybe the gamification piece I could do. The workout tracking I can certainly do. Community and social challenges, while fun, may be part of another app, or might be a little bit more work as far as marketing for me to build a base to work off of. So after I cull those out, I come down to a couple of things: unique workout tracking methods and mental wellness. And it doesn't have to be integration, but just mental wellness. And so that from there, I would pick out what I want to do. For me today, which happens most of the time, I can't pick between the two. So what do I do next? I just ask the tool who did all the research what it thinks. And so we put this prompt down in here. If I were to build out a standalone app, so I'm now focusing down, we talked features. Now I'm saying I can take one of those features and build one app off of that. And I'm going to tell it which two I chose, the workout tracking methods or the mental wellness. Which do you think has the greatest chance of success and engagement? It may not know, but it can take a guess. And just as importantly, why? Because I might end up picking the opposite one that it chooses, but at least I've got an idea of why it's choosing that to support its argument. And we just run that. Again, we're still in deep search, so it's going to continue to do research. It's not going to just throw out an answer. It's actually going to look at all the resources and information and provide an answer back to us that's much more in depth than just doing a chat GPT or something. And now that it's run through, it's actually done a new complete research plan for us based on just those two items. If you're enjoying this information and find this useful, doing this type of research to really hone down your apps, I highly recommend you head on over to launchwithvibe.com, grab our free ebook, and check out our book that goes into exactly this kind of stuff in much more detail, including the marketing, including the building out the apps and all those pieces. But for now, let's take a look at what we've got here. The very first thing I just want to hone in on is it said why the mental wellness might be better. In this case, I was leaning towards that. So I'm probably not going to do a lot of deep research into the other app idea because it's lining up with what I want. But, or what I shouldn't say what I want. What I saw is the greatest potential, but I think it's still good to read through the research so you have a good understanding of why it picked that and what some of the feature benefits are that go along with it. So you can scroll down here, you see it does an analysis of the mental wellness integration. And unlike me, if you were really on the fence between the two, 50-50, you weren't leaning one way or the other, it does a nice job of doing a comparative analysis of the two that we chose. So we've got the workout tracking and the mental wellness. Talks about market saturation, in our case, mental wellness, lower with more room for innovation, especially in the fitness integration area. So maybe we can build this app and then sell it to a fitness app company later. Wouldn't we love to be bought out by Nike? No guarantees of that. But user engagement, again, high, because mental wellness is going to have a high user engagement as they have to track their mood and other things, differentiators, easier to differentiate, more different features in the mental wellness space. So the next step in our process before we even get to building the app is taking that information, now that we've picked the specific app, and asking Grok to do even more deep research into the features that go with this app. And because Grok's getting a little confused about this integration piece, I did call out to keep in mind that we are talking standalone app for this and not an integration, so that it understands that and returns information that's valuable to us. And Grok, it did a wonderful job of breaking down exactly what we asked for and giving it back to us. They did a little bit of overview of the market, which we sort of already had, but it created the key features. So it went through a group of features: onboarding, daily engagement, meditation, mindfulness, sleep enhancement, mood, so on and so forth, all the way through AI-powered insights. Just really something that we can use to build out a very robust app as we go. Are we going to do all 17 of these things from day one? Probably not, unless you got a lot of time to build it out. But I would recommend you never start with 17 features and feed it into an AI coding tool and expect to get all 17 features built for you. It is going to barf on itself, and you're going to end up with a lot of funny looking stuff that doesn't make sense because it's just way too much information to process. So we start with a minimum viable product and then build on from there, which we'll look at how we do that in just a minute. It even gives us back implementation considerations as far as whether we do freemium, partnerships, clinical validation, user feedback, marketing strategy, all that stuff. We'll build that out in more detail later on after we build the app and we go to market with it. But it's nice that it provided it to us now. And also it gave us a competitive analysis so we could see our app here. This is our proposed app, what it's going to do. Of course, it's going to be all yeses. And then what some of the competitors in the market space currently do and what they can't do that we're saying we're going to do. Again, not going to build every one of these features on day one, but it gives us a roadmap. And that's the important piece, a roadmap of what we can do in the future. So now what are our next steps? Here's what I'm going to recommend doing, and you can play with different ideas to see what works for you. I'm going to take what Grok has provided to us, copy that entire thing, and I'll show you why in a minute. And I'm going to come into my Google Drive, and I'm going to paste all that information we just pulled from Grok right here so that I've got it for later. And I'm going to be able to use this for other pieces. And once I've got that stored in a Google Doc on this side, I'm going to come back to Gemini again. I like to bounce back and forth. I'm going to create a new chat, and I'm going to ask Gemini, and I'm going to put in a very specific prompt here. And my prompt is this: use this document to help me plan the mental wellness app development. There are a lot of features here. I want to start with an MVP that's a minimum viable product and build it out from there. So I want you to create a PRD, which is a product requirement document. This is something that we can feed into our tool that anybody that's doing app development, whether they're using low code or no code, should use to list out what are the things this app is going to do and not do. And then I'm also going to put in here, make sure that you take the features that are out of scope and include them in there for enhancements later. Why do I do that? So that we've got a document that shows all of the things we're going to build today, but also all the things that we know are important to build into the app later. I don't want to lose track of those, and I'm going to keep them in there. So that is the prompt I'm going to use. And then I'm going to come in here. And one of the nice things about the fact we put this doc in Google Drive is I can then come in here. I can find my document and just insert the document into our chat here so that we've got it all ready to go. And I'm going to run that prompt. And then it spits it out. It gives us our wellness app. I'm not going to break down every piece of a PRD right now, but it does a great job of it. So you can always build PRDs using AI and get a sense for what are the things you need to know about your app to actually make them work and build them out. So it has an intro, which is a nice thing to have. The goals, which is the most important thing to have. The MVP features that are in scope that our tool is going to definitely want to know about. And again, if we can tell it what to do in small chunks first, our best chance of success. So let's look at that real quick just to understand. Here's the MVP features that are in scope. The onboarding personalization, daily engagement, meditation, mood tracking, crisis intervention, privacy, and security, and then the offline access. I'm going to do something here real quick. I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and this is another nice thing about Gemini. It asked me if I want to create a document for this. So instead of just having this copy and paste thing going on over there inside of my chat, I can have it create the document for me. And when it creates that document for me, you'll see here now, it's open in the sidebar. I actually have a lot of editing tools like I would in Google Docs, and I can actually edit right here from the chat instead of having to do it from a doc. Once we get done editing though, I can very quickly and easily export it to a Google Doc in our drive so we can keep it there for reference for the future, nice and neat and handy and a lot less work. And if you're like me, I lose files really easily. I spend half my day trying to find the file that I built something on in the first place and definitely try to find the right version of it. That's that. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to spruce up my document a little. Here's a couple of the reasons. The onboarding, I definitely want to do. Daily engagement, meditation, I want to do. Mood tracking, I want to do. Crisis intervention, I think is important. But the privacy and security and the offline access, while is important, I don't want to build it out on my first run. So I'm going to keep a note on these to make sure that when I tell my app builder to get started, don't come in here and build these right away. I'm just going to italicize them. So I've got it listed there, and then it has all the other out of scope things that are in there. Now the part you've been waiting for, actually building the app. And we've got a few different options here. I'm going to show you one way or maybe two ways to do this. But if you think about an app, when you look at it, you have the front end, the part you interact with and use. And then you have the back end that has the database and the admin and all those types of things that does the processing and all that. We can build it all out together, or we can just build the front end first. I like front end first because when you think about a product, what people see and how they interact is what makes them decide if they like it or not. And I use a tool from Vercel called VO that I specifically use for building the front end. If you just go to, it's v0.dev, and you can get a free account from there. They give you a certain amount of credits every day. I rarely come up against the limit for that because they just do a couple things here or there. And you can build things out. You can see here, you can build out landing pages, sign up forms, all that type of thing. You can actually get started by using templates that other people have built already and then tweak those along the way to build something out. As a matter of fact, that's what I did on my site launch with Vibe. You'll see the stars falling and all the cool stuff. This is actually a VO template that I started with, and then using AI coding, built out all the features and the structure and that type of thing. But it saved me a ton of time. The only downside to VO is it doesn't integrate, at least today, with Google Drive. And I'm going to give it a very quick prompt, which is use the PRD that's down here below. Build out just the front end of the app, not the back end, and only go up to feature 3.5. We talked about 3.6 and 3.7 will be later. And Again, do not build out the back end. Do not build out the future enhancements. So I just want the front part that people are going to look at. Once it thinks for a minute, it starts to build. And you'll see over here, it's creating the code. It's building out the app. It's adding all of the code into the app. It's building the full structure to create, in this case, a TypeScript app. It's going to use React and build out a pretty nice and fairly robust application that we can then later build on top of once we have the front end created for us. And after probably less than 3 minutes, it has created the app for us. Now you see this is on the preview side. If I go back to the code, here's all the code that it built out. On the preview side though, with that instructions we gave them, keep in mind, we've done a bunch of work up until now. We've done some research, figured out the app we want, the features we want, all the information that we want in the app. So we didn't just come in here and say, build a wellness app for us. We've honed down exactly what we want based on what the market is looking for. That's the most important and the key step of this entire process and what this video is all about. Now let's look at the pretty. And so based on all that hard work that we've already done, we can come back in here and see what it built. And it built a really nice app for us. So we've got a little screen here telling us we can log how we're doing today. What are we grateful for? Because if you do any research into mental wellness, you know that having a gratefulness journey is one of the key steps to good mental wellness. And so it knew that. It's added it in there. I can say I'm feeling calm. I'm grateful for everyone. Oops. Let's see if I type here. I'm subscribing and liking this video. And then I could save my check-in and it saves it in there. You'll see my daily progress. I'm on day 3, number of days I've been doing it, the meditation time that I've logged for today. It's got a section down here for recommended activities for me, stress relief, mindful breathing. Again, we haven't built out all of these pieces. It just did this as some examples in here. I can do the see all. It's actually built out a nice set of guided applications, unguided with a timer. Pretty awesome. And some breathing exercises. We might just build this out. And it gets us to that point. And you'll see down at the bottom, it's a nice mobile-friendly version, which is what we want to use anyways. It does the meditation. It does the mood that we had on the front end, and then a profile on the back end. None of this is hooked to anything today, but it did include all of the features that we asked for on our Well Thought Out PRD, including being able to download this for offline use. It's enough for me to look at it though, to show to other people and to have them react to it and say, is this something you might like, or you might want to use? And that is the key of what we're trying to get to, that minimum viable product, that minimum viable experience. From here, we've got the front end. We've got an app that's pretty cool, I think. And so now we can build the back end, make it fully functioning, and then later deploy it. Now we're not going to build the back end on this video here today, and we're not going to deploy it today, but at least we've got the front pieces, the features. And I've used this in VO, and I mentioned before, I like to use it to create the front end UI, but not to build out the app. To build out the app, I like to use tools like Replit. I use Visual Studio Code with augmentcode.com. All will have links down below for you to check out. But I've got the front end. I need to keep it somewhere, right? So what I am going to do is use GitHub. If you don't have a GitHub account, totally free. Head on over to github.com, sign up, and get your account. And GitHub is a place to store code. And you'll see I've got repositories. That's what they just call your folders or your projects, the apps that you're working on. And once I've set that up and I've connected it with VO, I can come up here to this cool little cat. I can connect this to a repository. Since I don't have one created already, I'm going to create one for Wellness app. I put video so I remember that we were doing a video on this. And I create that repository. Once it's done, it's going to go through a few different things. It will tell me that the repository has been created. I've got that there now. I can click on the cat again, and I can open it up. And here is the GitHub repository for my app. And it's got information. It has this README file that talks about all of the different things it does and how it works so that I can find that later and remember that information. But that just gets me the README file. There's no other files in here. So I need to, I think if I come here and click on this, yeah, you can see there's no other files in there. So now I need to deploy the app back on VO. And so I can come up here, you see the little deploy button up here. It says push to get to that repository we just created. And I'm going to push it and deploy it over there so that I've got all the files and the full working, in a sense, app on GitHub. Once I've got that all over there, now I can go to any of my tools, my replets, my bolts, my lovables, that type of thing, grab this code base and start building the back end and the actual working application with databases, with hopefully payment gateways, so that we're making money on the app later, and all of the fully functioning pieces, and then deploy that out onto the app stores, on websites, wherever we're going to put our application. And so that's it for today. I shouldn't say that's it. That's a lot. Keep in mind everything that we've done here. We've gone into Grok. We've done a whole bunch of research to not just get to the app that we ended up with, but we did research onto what kind of app we want to build, what people might be interested in. And so we asked it all the information about market trends. We then honed it down to certain application features we might like. We did research on those. We picked the one we liked the best, again, through Grok. We took all of that information. We took it back on over to Gemini. We asked Gemini to build out a PRD, a product requirement document, for a minimum viable product for the wellness app we picked. And then after that, we headed over to VO. Like I said, we've done a lot. We provided VO with that information, and VO built us the app on the back end. If you want to learn more about building videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe, and also head on over to launchwithvibe.com to see all the detailed steps through we'll grab our free ebook first, but through our book also, where we walk through everything. Also, stay tuned on the channel. We'll take this app later and actually build out the back end and make a working application out of it. Until then, happy vibe coding.